Thank you, Madam Deputy President. The months of October and November of 1917 brought with them a number of significant events that would have a lasting impact on world affairs. Two of these events include the Battle of Beersheba, Palestine, a battle in which, against the odds, Australian and New Zealand troops broke through Ottoman defences and took the Turkish post of Beersheba. With lines broken, the Turkish domination of Palestine was doomed. Jerusalem was taken, and the prestige and power of the mighty Ottoman Empire would never be the same. The second significant event is that of the Balfour Declaration, the greatest hoax of all times, robbing the Palestinian people of their country. Arthur Balfour, the British Foreign Secretary at the time, wrote to Lord Rothschild, who was then advocating for a Jewish homeland, noted, and I quote, "His Majesty's government view with favour the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people." In this crude colonialist move, the British took Palestine from the Palestinians, who owned 90% of the land, and in a stroke of a pen gave it away. This was despite the fact that the British had already promised the Palestinian Arabs that they would support their claim to independence if they helped fight the Turks, which they did, and did so gallantly. The Balfour Declaration can only be described as a betrayal of the Arabs, the wartime allies. The Balfour Declaration was and continues to be an act of treachery against the Arabs, and one that has created nothing but misery for the Palestinian people. 100 years on, the Palestinians continue to suffer the indignity of occupation. The intertwining of Balfour and Beersheba by the likes of Netanyahu has only been made clearer in the past weeks as our political leaders visited Israel to commemorate the Battle of Beersheba. Many in the Australian and Palestinian communities were deeply concerned that this commemoration is being used by the Zionist forces with tacit approval of Turnbull government in normalising 100 years of Palestinian dispossession. The Australian Palestinian Advocacy Network has noted DFAT in its publication Australia and Israel, A Pictorial History, celebrates the Battle of Beersheba. Israel never existed in 1917, and if anyone is to be celebrated and recognised with the Australian forces in Beersheba, it would rightly and justly be the Palestinian people. I echo the statement of Bishop Browning from the Australian Palestine Advocacy Network when I say that this commemoration of Beersheba has been made less about remembering than forgetting. Beersheba commemoration is about celebrating our Australian horsemen and their victory, not about Netanyahu. As Bishop Browning has said, the sacrifice of the Arabs and the current suffering of the Palestinians have all been airbrushed from history in favour of the triumphalist Zionist narrative. It's an insult to the intelligence of the Australian people. Furthermore, it is a false and misleading rewrite of history, and it must be rejected without hesitation. The Turnbull government should never have allowed the likes of Netanyahu to use the commemoration as a means of whitewashing 100 years of continuing colonialism, displacement and apartheid. Even during the ceremony commemorating the battle itself, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, unashamedly used the opportunity to take a swipe at the Palestinian people and justify modern Israeli aggression. The Balfour Promise has left hundreds of thousands of Palestinians homeless, tens of thousands killed, and whatever left of Palestinian territory is littered with hundreds of Israeli settlements with occupiers armed to the teeth. Stealing land and calling it settlements does not make them legal. They are and continue to be illegal under international law. Along with many countries, Australia continues to label Israeli settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem as illegitimate and illegal. Passing Israel's Greater Jerusalem Bill and changing the demographic of Jerusalem should not be allowed. Israel and other countries must come to the negotiating table with clean hands and genuine intentions for the sake of peace for all. Instead, the Netanyahu government have sought to undermine the peace process by continuing illegal settlements. To accelerate the peace process, Australia must now recognise the state of Palestine, and to right the wrongs of the Balfour Declaration, the British must also now recognise Palestine and free the Palestinians of the shackles of occupation.